This 39 Dunedin News Bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Tonight on 39 Dunedin News, research into heart disease is set to get a boost thanks to an indoor cycling challenge and some star appeal. Residents aren't happy with proposed changes to some city bylaws, so will the Dunedin City Council proceed? And new students are being welcomed as locals as the university works to make everyone feel at home. Good evening, Dunedin. I'm Rebecca Dupree. An indoor cycling challenge is helping to support the local branch of a charity in the final days of its annual appeal. Dozens of people, including a few sports stars, have been taking part in the active event put on by physiology staff at the University of Otago, and their hard work could boost research into heart disease.
Off the field and onto a bike. Several Highlanders have been enlisted by University of Otago physiology staff to take part in a cycling challenge in aid of the Heart Foundation. It's a big undertaking for organisers, but they're happy with the large turnout.
This is our first ever time, so it's a bit scary, but hopefully it goes really well. We've had really good response from the university and from our businesses as well.
The event is raising money for the local branch of the Heart Foundation as part of the organisation's annual appeal month. It's a gesture that staff say makes a world of difference for the work the foundation does.
Nationally, the Heart Foundation funds research, and I think over the last 20 years we funded about $55 million worth. And the Otago University Physiology Department have a lot of great heart research happening here, and they wanted to give something back to our annual appeal, and so they've organised this event for us.
The teams involved were required to bike for 10 minutes at a time, with the entire pursuit lasting 3 hours. It was a kind of coast-to-coast challenge designed to mimic the distance between Dunedin and Haast. While it's proved to be no mean feat, organisers say the Heart Foundation's a worthy cause.
They've been really good to the Department of Physiology over the years in terms of project funding. We have a lot of academics doing research into heart disease, so they just seemed the logical choice.
The fundraiser will go full circle, with some of the money raised expected to be used for further heart research at the university. Ruby McAndrew, 39 Dunedin News.
Many local schools are posting annual deficits, according to data compiled by the Labour Party. Figures show 62 Otago primary and secondary schools reported a deficit in their 2014 accounts. Of those, just over 20 were in Dunedin. The collective shortfall was almost $1 million. That equates to an average of just over $40,000. The schools where the biggest deficits locally were Tahuna Normal Intermediate and Kavanagh College, both down by more than $150,000. Nationally, there were almost 1,000 schools in the red, representing about 40% of the total. Public submissions for the Dunedin City Council's proposed bylaw changes have officially closed. The council is planning to enforce tighter restrictions on dogs, alongside other alterations up for discussion. But a large amount of negative feedback from residents may void the draft amendments.
Getting to grips with public opinion. City Council staff is sorting through more than 340 public submissions they've received about recommended changes to local laws.
We've got 3 bylaws under review at the moment, and the first one is the keeping of animals bylaw, and excluding dogs but including birds. The second one is the dog control bylaw and its policy. And the third one is a beauticians, tattooists and skin piercers bylaw.
The local legislation is being reviewed to include wildlife protection, greater dog restrictions and safer practice within body modification businesses. One suggestion is to make it mandatory for dogs to be kept on leads in beach areas and on sports fields. But many residents are unhappy with that.
The majority of this feedback we've received is in relation to the dog control bylaw, and the majority of that feedback is relating to the proposal for not allowing dogs on a Dunedin City Council sports field unless the dog is leashed.
Bylaws have to be reviewed every 10 years. Now public submissions have closed, the draft changes and residents' feedback will go before the Hearings Committee and Council. Staff say final decisions entirely depend on committee members, but public opinion will have a big sway.
It'll certainly be taken into consideration, and given that there's a strong number of people opposing it, it will definitely have an impact on the decision.
The draft bylaws are due to go before the Hearings Committee in late March, when submitters will be invited to reiterate their views. Annabelle Dick, 39, Dunedin News.
The police are relatively happy with student behaviour at last night's toga party, attended by about 3,000 people. The event at Forsyth Bar Stadium was organised by the Otago University Student Association for this year's Orientation Week. Some revellers were pelted by eggs and water balloons as they were lining up outside the venue to get in. One of the men responsible was tackled on Logan Park by the university's deputy proctor and removed from the scene by police. But the rest of the night is being hailed as a success, with few reports of problems. Other large concerts are being held at the stadium for orientation tonight and tomorrow. Some of the city's fledgling tertiary students are getting to know one another as part of a push to make everyone on campus feel welcome. The University of Otago has opened the doors of its Locals HQ for an informal start of year celebration. It's about creating an inclusive experience for all first years, regardless of where they're living.
Getting acquainted with student life. Locals program staff at the University of Otago have been throwing a shindig to get people mingling. It's all about making the transition into tertiary education easier for students not living in residential colleges.
Everyone who comes into Otago at first year does deserve to have the same opportunities as everyone else. So I think it's really, really important for them to feel integrated into the community and integrated into the university campus life. So putting on stuff for them is so crucial.
McDonald's just started in the coordinator role and already she's pleased with how well the program is tracking. Registrations are up by more than 100 on last year, with over 400 students keen to be a part of the Locals crew.
We've done a lot of outreach this year because we want no one to miss out on the program, and our biggest thing was social media this year, and it's worked so well. We've seen a massive rise in our numbers in local community and in externals, so anyone who's from out of town that also isn't going into a hall, they're more than welcome to join the program too.
The program's increasing membership is helping to prove to the university that it's something worth keeping. Staff and volunteers are looking forward to an action-packed year with a focus on community engagement. That includes entering a team in an upcoming Relay for Life event. For the first time in the program's 5-year history, its scope is being widened.
We also have a mature student sector this year, so we're trying to integrate mature students who come back to study and make sure that they're all good going back into a different system and a different way of learning as well.
Orientation Week is prime time for new sign-ups, but McDonald's says the doors are open to new members anytime during the academic year. Events are planned throughout to ensure everyone is welcomed and supported in their tertiary journey. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
Still to come on 39 Dunedin News, we'll find out why a city academic is calling for changes to a cancer screening program, and musicians are preparing for a festival that's all about celebrating older styles of music.
We're at Alex Campbell's. We've got far too many shirts. We've got buy one, get one free at the moment on all shirts. Business shirts, short sleeve shirts, you name it. Buy one, get one free. Buy one, get one free. Buy one, get one free. Buy one, get one free.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
Hello, I'm Dougal Stevenson. Welcome to Museum Diaries, the programme where we delve deeper into the museum vaults. So this week, Greek ceramics, the Otago shag. Yes, we do have one. Early hominid stone tools and what they meant to early civilization and what they mean to us. And you'll love this, Thomas Jeffrey Parker's glycerin stomachs.
Are you looking to add a new dimension to your home? A Christie's glasshouse and shed will add value to your property and increase your gardening pleasure. And can be easily ventilated during the day. A Christie's garden shed is a brilliant addition to your backyard, adding to your storage capacity. The great Kiwi glasshouse and shed come in all shapes and sizes, are manufactured in Dunedin and come in a range of nature-inspired colour steel colours or metallic zinc aluminum finish. Choose the Kiwi shed that has stood the test of time. Choose Christie.
Grandad loved his family and surfing, in that order. He taught me to surf, and we spent a lot of time in the water together over the years. When he died, I strapped the camera to the nose of his old board and filmed the paddle out at St. Clair. Gillian's played the video on the big screen at his funeral. Grandad would have loved having everyone come out one last surf with him.
Gillian's Funeral Services, helping families celebrate the lives of their loved ones for generations. Gillians.co.nz.
Well, bees are very fascinating creatures, and they constantly confound you about how little we really know about them.
About 4 of every 5 mouthfuls of food you eat have input of bees somewhere in the food chain.
I think they're fascinating. I can't think of a more interesting animal to work with.
Bees are economically the most important insects in the world.
Here's something else to look forward to sinking your teeth into every weekend with the Otago Daily Times, the Weekend Mix, your guide to what's hot in fashion, entertainment, food and more. New weekend magazine in your ODT. Pick up your copy this Saturday.
Welcome back. Staff at Toitu Otago Settlers Museum are happy with its performance despite a significant financial downturn. The council-owned facility went from having an almost $400,000 surplus to a net deficit of just over $200,000. That's being attributed to several factors which have compounded over the last 12 months. Staff say the museum received less funding and had increased costs, but visitor numbers are still tracking well. The shortfall was expected to decrease in coming months, and budgets are anticipated to be stable going forward. Last year, just over 300,000 people visited the premises. And on that note, let's take a look at today's markets. And the NZX 50 has closed the day down 5 points. It's now at 6,225. The FTSE is down 95 points. To the exchange rates, the Kiwi dollar is up against the Australian and the yen. We are down against the American, the pound and the euro. A local academic is calling on the government to improve its bowel cancer screening program. Associate Professor Brian Cox of the University of Otago says lives could be saved by a single test, and he joins us to talk about it. Good evening.
Good evening.
What's the test you're advocating?
It's the insertion of a fibre optic tube in the anus and up the lower part of the large bowel, which enables someone to actually visualise and examine that part of the bowel.
Ooh, when could it be introduced in New Zealand?
Fairly quickly, because it would only be a one-off screening procedure at around the age of 60, so you'd only have to have it once. And it provides a 43% reduction in your chance of dying of bowel cancer and a 33% reduction in your future chance of getting bowel cancer.
Those are considerable numbers. How would it be better than the current screening program?
Well, the current screening program requires 2 yearly testing of the blood in the poo for nearly 15 years, and unfortunately about 5% of each time someone's tested, they've got a 5% chance of having to have a colonoscopy, and so there's a huge number of people that are then required to actually be referred to colonoscopy, which is a much bigger procedure, which is like the flexible sigmoidoscopy, but it actually examines the entire large bowel.
Mm. What statistics do you have about the test reducing the risk of bowel cancer?
There are 4 randomised controlled trials that have been, large ones that have been done elsewhere in the world, and they've been very consistent in showing that level of effect of flexible sigmoidoscopy.
Mm. Is the test expensive?
Well, it's reasonably expensive. I think it would cost probably more than $300 to have the test, and but since it's a one-off test rather than repeated several tests over 15 years, the costs aren't too different.
What does the Ministry of Health say about this?
Well, the Ministry have made a commitment to just looking at fecal occult blood testing some 5 years ago, and they have been unwilling to actually look at the newer evidence that's out there.
How many Kiwis are affected by bowel cancer each year?
About 3,200.
Which is a considerable number.
Yes, it's the second commonest form of cancer in New Zealand, and New Zealand has the highest rates in the world.
Do other countries use the test that you're advocating?
Several countries are actually introducing it into their screening programs to replace fecal occult blood testing, and in the United States many family physicians, equivalent to our general practitioners, have been providing that service within their practices for some time.
Are you expecting the government to respond to your latest publication about it?
I would hope so. It's a matter of what the evidence is, and they really need to provide the best opportunity for people to reduce their risk of bowel cancer.
What are some of the factors that can cause bowel cancer?
It's generally been thought to be associated with some aspect of diet, but a lot of studies have been very inconsistent in that regard. But more recently there's a suggestion that a high consumption of processed meat, for example, might be associated with it. But there are quite a few things that can actually reduce your risk of bowel cancer.
Associate Professor Brian Cox from the University of Otago, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
After the break on 39 Dunedin News, we find out the theme of this year's Olden Day Music Festival and whether or not O Week is bringing out the best in tertiary students.
Do you want support for your breathing? You are not alone. In New Zealand, over 600,000 people have some form of breathing difficulty, especially with the high pollen season in New Zealand. Puff Plus is an excellent natural product developed to support lung function and breathing difficulties. Puff Plus is so effective, you get a no questions asked money-back guarantee on the first purchase. Give it a go, you have nothing to lose. Call now, 0800 502 402. Take as directed. If symptoms persist, see your healthcare professional.
Pregnant? Need to talk? 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Pregnancy counselling services are here to help. It's free, it's confidential. Call us now on 0800 773 462.
Don't miss the home show. Lots of great ideas, great prizes, great deals, kitchens, bathrooms, furnishings and lots more. The Epicentre Moore FM Arena, 4th, 5th, 6th of March. Adults $10, children free. See you at the home show. For professional, reliable and approachable service where your dream kitchen design can become an affordable reality, contact the team at Kitchens for Less. Call 455 9973 or visit us online.
Mosgiel Mowers Plus can help you with products to make your garden maintenance jobs easier. Lawn mowers, ride-ons, chainsaws, line trimmers. Sales and service are our specialty. Mosgiel Mowers Plus. Phone 489 3572 22B Gordon Road, Mosgiel.
They've got all. It's all about our customer care, great food, great coffee, and supported by some awesome staff. We think it's really important that the customers, when they come in here, have a good experience and leave wanting to come back. And I think in a nutshell, that's what the Good Oil is all about.
Bring some more joy into your world by adopting one of our adult animals at SPCA Otago. Call now on 473 8252. Please adopt a pet now. They will love you forever.
Yes, sorry, Jen.
Neck, shoulder, back, sciatica, pain specialists. Innovative tools specifically designed to contour your grooves of depletion and excess muscle buildup.
Sunny Chin, it works.
Pallet fires are growing in popularity in Otago, with people who want a clean and efficient form of home heating. The sight of a burning flame without the problems of chopping, stacking and carting wood around is a winner. Pallet fires, so easy, so efficient.
Tune in on Thursday for Motorsport Night on Dunedin Television.
We at Alex Campbell's have got far too many shirts. We've got buy one, get one free at the moment on all shirts. Business shirts, short sleeve shirts, you name it. Buy one, get one free. Buy one, get one free. Buy one, get one free. Buy one, get one free.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
Welcome back. Police are looking for a vehicle thief who made off with a woman's expensive sports car in St Clair yesterday. The Porsche Macan was stolen from the corner of Forbury and Victoria Roads between 11:45 a.m. and 2 p.m. Officers say it's valued at about $130,000. The owner of the white luxury sports car lost her keys and went home to get a spare set, but when she returned, the 2014 Porsche was gone. It was reportedly found abandoned but undamaged in the warehouse car park in South Dunedin this afternoon. Rehearsals are underway for the city's international showcase of olden day music. The fortnight-long festival is highlighting scores from hundreds of years ago with performances by local and foreign artists, and they're all working to a special theme.
Hitting the high notes. These opera singers are rehearsing one of the pieces being performed at this year's New Zealand International Early Music Festival.
We're rehearsing for the opera Dido and Aeneas, which opens on Friday. There are going to be two performances. It's the iconic opera by Henry Purcell from about 1685.
40 singers and musicians from around the country will be involved, alongside special guests from America, Hungary and Sydney. They'll be exposing audiences to the sounds of old with a dozen separate events over 2 weeks. Artists will serenade musical enthusiasts with melodies of violins, viola and cellos from the Baroque period.
This year's festival we're concentrating on the Baroque era, which is sort of 1600 to 1760. It's 160 years of music. Doesn't sound very long, but a lot happened in that time. Bach, Vivaldi, Handel, opera, oratorio, all sorts of interesting things.
This is the third running of the yearly festival, and organisers are hoping for 1,000 visitors throughout the event. Performers are wanting to give the public an insight into an era of music not commonly heard in modern times.
I hope they're going to get a new interesting experience. It's a sound which you're not going to hear every day. It's something which is fascinating in the sense that it's old but it sounds new.
The Labour Party's spokesperson for Arts, Culture and Heritage, Jacinda Ardern, is opening the festival tomorrow night with Mayor Dave Cull. Annabelle Dick, 39, Dunedin News.
North Dunedin is once again filling up with tertiary students ahead of this year's first semester. Otago Daily Times reporter David Lockray has been mingling with Scalfies on campus and discovering that orientation isn't quite the boozy affair of old, and he joins us to talk about it. Good evening.
Hi Rebecca.
What's been happening with orientation so far?
Well, mostly, as far as I can see, it's been a matter of herding students into places or busing them and putting them in places. So we've had the tent city early in the week where they all went into this very thin sort of laneway, and on each side there were businesses of all sorts trying to pull them in. They were all bussed down to the toga party and dropped off there to jump about in togas. The Clubs and Socks Day was also in a very thin sort of area, and so whenever you're there you're always surrounded by huge mass of students. So that's pretty much what they've been doing. They've been exposed to businesses and university services and rock music.
Do they seem to be behaving?
They are behaving, yes. Now I went to the toga party yesterday and there was some vomiting, there was some activities around trees for the boys, but mostly everyone seemed really quite sober. Yeah.
Could the worst be yet to come?
Who knows, but I don't think so. They seem a very decent, nice bunch of students this year, well behaved and intelligent, and they talk in a very friendly way to you. So I think this year we're just going to sail through, unless that doesn't happen, and then I take all that back.
What have been some of the problems of past O Weeks?
Well, I remember there was a toga parade, I think in 2000 and something, that went awry. There's been masses of fires and all that sort of thing, but that hasn't been as bad this year. There has been some couch fires, I think half a dozen or more, but it just hasn't been as bad as in the past. And I think last year we had a couch fire that almost set fire to a house, so that was deeply alarming. That hasn't happened this year, so just at the moment, even though there's some stuff going on, it's just not as bad as in the past.
ODT reporter David Lockray, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Rebecca.
And now recapping tonight's top stories on 39 Dunedin News. team cycling challenge involving several Highlanders has been held to raise money for the local branch of the Heart Foundation. Proposed bylaw changes are drawing hundreds of public submissions, mostly from residents unhappy about greater dog restrictions. And the Locals program at the university is expanding for the first time in its 5-year history with an increasing number of members. Well, it's time now to find out what's going to be in Friday's Otago Daily Times, and the editor's back with us, Barry Stewart, clearing his throat. Good evening.
Hello. The Greater Dunedin political grouping, headed by Mayor Dave Cole, is, well, their future is ended. They aren't going to be standing in the local body elections this year. That's not to say that people associated with it will not be. This, of course, follows the announcement yesterday that the Labour Party is considering putting a ticket forward for the local body elections. A motorcyclist has been killed in a crash near Hampden this afternoon, and the Highlanders Dream Team, I suppose you entered that competition naming your top 15 in the 20 years of Super Rugby. Well, I'm glad you did, because we have the answers to that. Our former sports editor or current rugby writer and former rugby writers have combined to list their winning team, so look out for that. We also cover all the activities in O Week that were happening today, although a bit wet and windy. Which brings me to our final little segment. A St Clair resident is angry that Freedom campers were hanging their washing out near St Clair Beach. Wouldn't have dried too well today, would it?
No, but you know, it's an extra rinse cycle.
True, good point.
Details in tomorrow's ODT. Thanks, Barry. Time now for local weather.
This weather update is proudly brought to you in association with Silverhorn's Puff Plus.
And here is today's city view. It's taken of a seagull feeding in the rain. And around the city at 3 o'clock today, 18 degrees recorded everywhere, despite the moisture. Well, to the situation, cold fronts are still moving past the South Island. The airflow, though, will tend cooler southwesterly over the weekend as another anticyclone develops in the Tasman. Well, to the forecast for some of the main towns on the lower South Island for tomorrow. Strong westerlies with some rain for Invercargill, Gore, Tiano and Alexandra. Highs of around 17 or 18 degrees. And strong westerlies with some rain for Queenstown, Oamaru and Wanaka. Pretty dry though for Twizel, just a bit of cloud around there with strong westerlies, 21 degrees. In Dunedin tonight, we are expecting this rain to clear to an overnight low of 14. Mostly fine tomorrow with a few spits of rain at times and strong gusty westerlies, 19 degrees. And on Saturday, sunny periods increasing, winds easing and 18 degrees. And to the Otago Pallet Fires tidal and fishing information. High tide tomorrow morning is at 7:06. Low tide follows at 10 to 2. And fishing conditions look pretty good again tomorrow afternoon, particularly around 4:10. And that is local news for Thursday. We will be back tomorrow. We'll see you then.
This 39 Dunedin News Bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.